Well, you're probably wondering how I ended up here, singing opera at a furry convention in Sweden. Well, it's a funny but amazing story about good luck, timing, fate, and the invitation from two fursuiters who have a true talent for all things related to classical music. This is the story of my trip to my first ever European convention, NordicFuzzCon. It all started in February 2024. NFC had debuted their very first furry opera showcase, Fursuiters, a play on words of the Richard Wagner opera Götterdämmerung. The final installment in Wagner's epic four-part opera series The Ring Cycle, it tells the sprawling story of Vikings, fair maidens, Norse gods and goddesses, and the creation and destruction of Asgard, aka Ragnarok. Fursuiters featured a cast of fursuiters who are all classically trained singers and musicians, including the likes of Chester the Geroo, Dan the Singing Tiger, Lil Alpha Pup, and violinist Vozzy the Fox, who performed not just selections of Wagner, but also the works of other composers from Handel to Verdi to Stephen Sondheim and even Disney's very own Alan Menken. I came across some highlight footage of the show on Chester's YouTube channel, and I was already aware of him and his talents in opera for a couple of years beforehand. Fursuiters singing complicated opera arias while backed up by a collection of live musicians who are also in fursuit, I hadn't seen anything so theatrical in the furry fandom up to this point. But even though it was only a few minutes long, I was very impressed. Not just impressed, I was spellbound. A few months later, I saw the whole show, and soon afterwards I reached out to Chester on Telegram, and I had not met or interacted with him in any way, not really expecting a response. But then he did respond, and he was also aware of who I was too, since I am also known for singing some opera arias at Anthrocon twice in a row. Check my YouTube channel for that. We eventually met for the first time in person at AC 2024 and got to perform together in the big band, which was a dream come true in itself. From the outset, I found Chester to be extremely warm, friendly, and passionate about his craft. After the show, he told me that there were indeed plans for NFC to have another furry opera and formally invited me to come on board. I knew there would be challenges in getting there, but I immediately said yes. Fast forward to the end of the year. The con theme for NFC would be Zen Garden, and the opera plans are starting to take shape. And we even have a title, Madame Fluttershy. And I immediately got excited, not just because it's a play on words again, but because Madame Butterfly, Puccini's opera about a Japanese bride who steadfastly waits for her American naval husband only to face a terrible betrayal, is my all-time favorite opera. I remember having wonderful memories as a toddler listening to various videos and recordings of the opera, and even the Maria Callas recording with my father in his car whenever he would pick me up from school. There was also another memory I have of going with my family to the Metropolitan Opera's Red Carpet Gala premiere in New York City in 2006 to see Anthony Minghella's award-winning production. Needless to say, I was pumped. I was invited to join a Telegram group for the show and got to meet the rest of the company, which meant that the folks who were in Fursuiters would also be returning, and I would get to meet them all in person for the first time, including Vozzy and Dan. I also learned which part I'm playing and what songs I'll be getting to sing. Now comes the most interesting part. Months of planning and budgeting and hoping I get a decent hotel at or near the con space. I get my registration for the con, I pay for my hotel, I get my plane tickets, I get some ideas on traveling on the correct airline and getting from the airport to the city of Malmö. And I have to give Chester the biggest credit in helping me because he knew exactly what to do and gave me tips, including reassurance that everyone there speaks English. They say getting there is half the fun, and while the travel there was definitely a challenge, everything went really smoothly. Now, the last time I was in Europe was visiting London with my dad in summer 2013. This time, I would be flying solo, and once I arrived in Malmö, it was like stepping into another world. The city was filled with beautiful medieval-style buildings, water-filled canals, amazing restaurants, bicyclists all over the place, and everything was within walking distance, including the hotel that I stayed at, the Comfort, and the hotel the con was being held at, the Clarion. I arrived on Monday morning of February 17th, and the con didn't have its opening ceremonies until Wednesday night. So, after semi-sleeping off the jet lag, which I might add didn't really fully go away, I was ready to go. I got my registration on Tuesday, and I had a whole day and a half before the con officially began, so I took the opportunity to go on a boat tour sponsored by the con. A 3-hour boat tour, I might add. Don't worry, nothing happened. I got to see the Øresund Bridge, which is on the main waterway that separates Denmark from Sweden, and got to see one of the most beautiful sunsets ever. I was also impressed with the city's beauty and the con's overall professionalism and quality, though some things needed to be worked on for crowd control, but I won't get into that. The opera company immediately got started with rehearsals after opening ceremonies. 11 p.m., I might add. Chester had literally arrived just a couple of hours prior. 2 quick rehearsals on late Wednesday night and into Thursday morning where all of us were running on 2 brain cells and barely enough sleep. We eventually created order out of chaos. The show was at 1 in the afternoon on Thursday, and though I had been scrambling backstage, becoming an impromptu stagehand, I had the time of my life up there. Performing with true talent was a fandom goal I never knew I wanted. Our opera, Madame Fluttershy, combined elements of Puccini's Madame Butterfly, Gilbert and Sullivan's The Mikado, and we even got to fit in a piece by Final Fantasy composer Nobuo Uematsu, Maria and Draco from Final Fantasy VI. Getting to sing songs like this with a collection of singers and instrumentalists as talented as Chester, Dan, and Vozzy, and everyone else was a dream come true. And huzzah! Our story had a happy ending. Just what the doctor ordered. And afterwards I got to enjoy the convention itself, as well as the sights, sounds, and especially the food that Momo had to offer. You can see for yourself with these photos that I took. In addition to the hotel con space at the Clarion, there was a whole second space that the con rented out called Valhalla, which was a venue that served as a lot of things. Arcade, bar, restaurant, haunted house attraction, second stage, dealer's den, and more. And also, hallelujah! I got to have real Swedish meatballs! Also, as you saw from a previous video, I auditioned for the con's Furrovision Song Contest talent show, but though I didn't get in, I went anyway to support the other performers. At least 3 of them were in the show with me, and wouldn't you know it? Surprise, surprise, the entire thing was won by none other than our Lieutenant Pinkerton, Dan. I knew from the beginning, and he totally deserved it. NFC really knew how to put on a show. Now, I know it's not a reality for a lot of people in the furry fandom, but I'd wanted to go to at least one European con in my life. And I'm very happy it happened to be this one. I'm not ashamed to say that this experience truly beats all the American conventions I've been to in terms of art, theatricality, performances, and showmanship. Without a doubt, NordicFuzzCon immediately became one of my favorite cons, period. I don't know when or if I'll get the chance to go back, but you can bet your ass that I'll take advantage of the furry opera again if the opportunity ever presents itself again. As long as Chester, Dan, and Vozzy are involved, I'll do it. I really want to thank all of them for giving me the chance to perform with them. Well, that's about it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll close it out with some more photos and clips I took. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.